that face, man. When she's like, shut the hell up. You shut the hell up now. That's what that face says. Meanwhile, Pearl at the beginning is like, why am I here when this woman's talking? What? Like, why am I here? Oh, God, just droning on and on and on. Hey, guys, we're going to do something a little different today, but still in the same sort of vein of men and women. I'm going to watch the Vice pro and anti-feminist debate. So the only reason that, well, I know what happened is because Just Burley Things, who I sometimes watch, was in it, and she mentioned it, and I was like, what the heck? So I was like, okay, let's check this out. Okay, just already they tried to make that intro like that intro so gangster, and I'm just like, it's like, no, it didn't work. I'm sorry. It didn't work.
Should we mark this bad boy at all?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody.
You know what? Sorry, I'll start off by just I haven't watched this, right? I'll just start off by saying what I think might be interesting. I do know that in the feminist community, they've kind of it's kind of like, holy shit, does that one lady have no legs? Sorry, I just realized that. She's on like a, you guys can't see that because my face is in the way. She's on like a, whatever, like a motorized wheelchair thing. That's crazy. Holy smokes. Sorry, that just like destroyed my train of thought, but I was not expecting to see that. I just looked. I was like, is there a robot on the screen? She's bionic woman. No. Okay, so I know that the feminist community is kind of splintered with the trans issues. So I forget, they have like a name for these feminists that are not into the whole like trans thing with like having trans people in women's spaces and stuff. So I actually see that's part of the title. So I'm curious to see where that goes. The trans thing is going to be very interesting. That's what I'm most excited to see.
In today's polarized world, is feminism dead?
I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And
I agree with her, what she's saying here. It's like very splintered, at least from what I hear and see. Not that I'm like tapped into any feminist things. I'm sorry, I started cracking up there a little bit because Just Pearly Things, Pearl, she's like, she's the one in the purple, right? If you don't know her, she has like a big podcast. And she does not look serious at all. She just looks like, la da 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 da. I don't know why I'm here. Da, da, da. And like this other woman's talking like so seriously.
if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long
Okay, hopefully they'll get into the things that they think are still not equal and we can discuss them. Because it's like really easy to say that at a high level, like people love to do that at a high level. Be like, oh, we need to make things equal. We need to do X. And it's just like a very high level statement, but they need to give examples or like specific things that we can work on.
as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
Yeah, but when would people having power over you and oppressing you, although, I mean, I guess I would like to see her give specific examples of that, but people having power, like people are always going to have power over you. So unless you're on top, which is probably unlikely because not too many people can be. So I don't know. I just think it's life, and we're all of us who are below those people are in the same boat.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
You know what's interesting too is for Black women because they were like excluded out of feminism in the beginning. Like, I forget the lady who started it or whatever, but was one of the big first wave feminists, the one who's known for it. But they didn't really want the Black women in there. So I always find it interesting. I guess like it's years and years down the road.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think
That's a good point, like what she's saying. Like, yeah, when we talk about feminism, well, I guess we're in North America, but it's generally focused around the United States. And so, you know, when you look at these other countries, which never gets talked about, like Iran was the big one, right? Where they were just having all those protests. Like, it never gets talked about. And I think it's kind of interesting that she pointed that out, but she looks like she might be like Middle Eastern or something, so she'd have a different perspective. So I'm curious there. But then she also brought in the trans thing, which is, I'm curious how she separates that.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
See, I expected that from the first Black woman. It's good that she brought it up, and not that I like to do the whole race thing, but it is a point that can be discussed. So and it should come from a Black woman. So there you go. I'm happy it's out there.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Hold on. I do not agree with what she just said. She's saying like she used herself as an example, like a woman with a disability basically not getting the same value because it's kind of like, at least that's how I'm interpreting it. Maybe I'm totally off my rocker here, but it's kind of like your value has really decreased. I'm like, but if you took a man with the same disability, like equal to her, so he doesn't have any legs and he's in a wheelchair, who was going to be more valuable? I think it's pretty close, but I think the man is less valuable. We literally said men to war just to die. Like, just innately, a woman has more value than a man, and men are more disposable. I don't agree with what she said.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
you
I
can
think
use it as
there's a
an
lot
advantage.
of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in
You know what? I was actually surprised she said that pretty privilege because, no offense to Pearl, but I don't think she's like pretty or anything. I think she's like average. But pretty privilege saying that to Pearl to me, I was like, wow, okay. I mean, some people are really into redheads, so I don't know. Some people like all about Pearl. I don't know. They can have.
a way that beauty standards have accepted. And so
They call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily.
Pearl. You're not ugly. I just think you're average, and I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm just not into gingers. I'm just not. I'm not into gingers. I've never been into gingers. I don't like freckles and orange hair. I don't. I like somebody who can get like a tan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because
privileges
we want
exist.
special treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women.
I'm sorry. Her face. Let me go back. Her face. When she said it, she like pursed her lips. That face, man. When she's like, shut the hell up. You shut the hell up now. That's what that face says. Meanwhile, Pearl in the beginning is like, why am I here when this woman's talking? What? Like, why am I here? Oh, God, just droning on and on and on.
And because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
It doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do whatever
barriers.
you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
My legs.
As a woman.
Good thing you added that in, Pearl. Good thing you added that in. She's going to be like, what the fuck, bro? Look at my legs. My legs. Bro, over. She's like, look at she knows she's laughing because she knows. Oh my God.
As a woman.
As a woman.
That ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Oh, shut up. Come on. Because you could have a man in the same situation with no legs or no arms or whatever, or some other kind of disability, and he'd be in the same position. So you would have to compare apples to apples. If you're comparing yourself to a normal person who has legs and walking around, then yeah, of course you're hampered in life and you can't do as much. And everybody would understand that. Nobody's gonna sit there and be like, "Why are you walking? You lazy bitch?" Like, no one's gonna say that because they see you don't have legs.
Well, as I
you don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about women. I'm not.
You're
I'm
speaking
not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as
an able-bodied white woman.
Are you? Why are you clarifying this? I think everybody knows. Everybody knows. Oh my God. Ah, I'm gonna be triggered. I am triggered. I'm not going to be. I am triggered. The snowflake is coming out. The soy is sweating from my skin.
It is white. Presents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're just going to ignore
white
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Pay gap has been proven and
the pay gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
that's so
It's
funny.
the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things.
That's okay. I like what she did by breaking it down. I think that was good. And I think she's correct. Like I just thinking about, like, because I'm a guy, right? I'm a guy. Okay, if anybody's like not clear, I'm a man. I do think that it's very difficult for women if you want to have kids. How do you do that? Even if you just have maternity leave, it is a big effect in your career. So with the way society is set up now, and that everybody wants to be working and advance in career and make money, etc., I think it's something that's very difficult for women, and it's one of the reasons I'm grateful I'm not a woman, because I don't have to make that choice. Now I understand that women have to make that choice. So for the woman in my life, I will make sure that I'm there to support her and cover her and take care of her, so she doesn't need to feel that effect as much, that our family can flourish, and when she's taking time off to be pregnant and raise kids. Okay? But that's kind of like an old school mentality. If you were deciding you're just going to be single and then you're just going to work, and then when you're 40 you're like, oh crap, I didn't have kids. I mean, that's the whole feminism thing, where it's like almost a mix-up of priorities, and it's too late, and then there's all these other factors, biology of men and women, like who men find attractive, and like how you change as a woman just being in the work world for 20 years or whatever, or 15 years, and then want to have kids. Like, you're going to become more assertive in things. You're going to become probably more masculine-like. I mean, it depends on maybe where you work, but it's just like, there's so many things that I don't want to say it's feminism, but just like women working have brought into the world, which now that we're dealing with, which has messed things up. Like, women don't want to date guys who make less money than them. But now women are more educated, and women are making a lot of money. Now, not all women, but there's a lot of women who are making a lot of money, and so they have a lot less options. Okay, I could go on, but I'm going to let this continue.
First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the US, have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't
why
ask?
are they not asking?
What happens when women ask for a raise?
What happens when women ask for a raise? I would assume the same thing that happens when anybody asks a raise. Are we saying that when a woman asks for a raise, it's somehow different now? Like, they're sitting there like, you're a woman. You should be silent. Go back to the kitchen, or go back to your desk. It's the same thing as when anybody happens to raise. If you want to get a raise, you need to show to your company, to your manager, to whoever's paying you, this is the value that I bring. I deserve more money because of this value. And if they say no, I don't want to give you a raise, you go, okay, and you leave, and then you go look for another job, and then you get an offer, and either you accept that offer or you come back to your current place where you work and you say, hey, these people think I'm worth this amount of money. So are you going to match that or not? And they have two options, yes or no. And if they don't, you go to the other job. That works for everybody. That's not just a man or woman thing. And that's the best way to get a raise or to increase your salary and wages.
What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's
What do you mean you would like to know an example of? You're just, okay, fine. Pearl will say it.
like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman.
Okay. Then we start bringing race in it. It's like every time it's like, can we just keep things simple? Because if you keep adding in like extra factors, you just overcomplicate things and it just becomes like really difficult to solve any problem. So what you should do ideally is take like a higher level. So like Pearl, I think she mentioned woman. So just take woman because 51% of the population or whatever is women and be like, what would be good for women in general? And look at that and work on that because that improves the lives of all women. Instead of being like, well, oh, yeah, but that doesn't include able-bodied women or black women or Latino women or Asian women or trans women or blah, 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 blah. And we just keep going. Like, it's just like, stop. Just focus on the top and all the women get affected and they get little benefits and that helps them. That's the way you start implementing change. And once you've solved all the things that affect women, just women at a high level that would benefit all women, then you can start to look at the lower groups. But even then, you got to be careful because you give one group something, then another group might get affected. Whereas when you're keeping it more at the high level, it was a lot easier to implement change.
And we don't. Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
I'm
just feel like your question is
right?
kind of hostile when you're like, I don't.
Sorry. Did she just said she can't answer as a woman? Okay, this is what I mean by you overcomplicated it. So now you said a bunch of shit and you were like, ha ha ha, da da da, this and this is the struggle, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, okay, can you give me some evidence? I can't because I'm not just a woman. How will you ever get anywhere? Like,
There are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing. And I feel like it's
I think
like
as an American, you're very privileged. Like,
I'm not ignoring that.
Or like a basic level of what, I mean, the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%. So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being women, this doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't believe in.
What does it do for you to have a bunch of ramps in your life? It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my
So
feminism includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is
You
for
guys
women.
can talk.
For women
you can
versus men, like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
So what barrier?
Why is
I
it
just
silly?
want to.
The question
it's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but I'm
It's
saying,
not a fair question. It's
how is it not a fair question?
This is frustrating just to listen to. It's like her thing about ramps don't do crap for her. Yeah, that's true. But a man who has disabilities in a wheelchair, like any gender, would find a ramp useful. What does that have to do with feminism? What does it have to do with feminism? Are you like they didn't have a ramp at the abortion clinic because men wouldn't go there? Well, actually, they might to support their partner who's getting an abortion. So I don't know. What does it have to do with feminism?
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset.
Why are they focusing on her and her eyes? The Texan that sounds like she's from Australia.
Of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us.
Men are not well adjusted in the society and women are not trying to re-encapsulate what they built for us or something. I would agree a lot of men are not well adjusted to the change with all the things that I laid out earlier that have been happening, like women in the work world making more money, the dating situation. I would agree. I would agree with that. I think women are also not well adjusted. Like women are adjusting to working and being in the workforce, like they've been doing that for a while now. What, like 60 years or something? Or even longer. But I don't think they have worked out, like, how do I do that? Have kids, meet a good guy, have a relationship as well. Like, it kind of seems like you do all one thing or nothing, kind of. Like, it's very difficult to do both. Like, it's challenging. And obviously some women manage to do it, but it just seems like it's hard. I don't think anybody's adjusted. And when you think about it, we just kind of flipped everything on its head in the last 80 years or 60 years, etc. with this. Like, it's very different.
I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
No. So you don't understand something that somebody said and you just be like, okay, I respect your thing that I don't understand. How can I respect something I don't understand? First of all, it doesn't even make sense. Other than that, you're respecting that person to not ask them a question to answer anything, which doesn't seem like respect. It seems like you don't care about what they just said. So that's where you're like, but you're saying, oh, I'm respecting you. I don't give a shit. That's what it says to me. If you actually are interested to what they have to say and to understand what they're saying, and maybe you both can come like and meet at some middle ground or whatever, right? If you're on opposite sides, then you should have a conversation where you discuss things. And then you're like, well, that makes more sense. Like, I get it, but I disagree on this and blah, right? You have a conversation.
Respecting wherever your starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never.
Achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look,
Yes, she literally just said how I've been feeling through this conversation. Well said, whoever you are. That was well said. Oh my God.
I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a hard time with that one. I'm sorry. I hate nose rings. I hate the stupid cow nose rings. The other stuff I can deal with, but oh God, I hate the cow nose rings. Pull that shit out.
I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though. But...
Yeah.
What? I thought there'd be... Oh, no, it's 4. Okay, 4 of 9. So 5 of them are not raising their hands. Interesting. Where would I put myself? I don't want abortion in my personal life, but I think it should be available to others. I don't like some of the extreme abortions that happen. I think that's ridiculous. For my personal life, I'm not interested in an abortion. And if I had the choice, I would choose no.
Yeah. Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life, why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of the Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stand.
You said late-term pregnancy. Yes. A lot of abortions do not happen.
I made the distinction. I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact that...
But you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids. Like, that's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So, like, here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body.
As I go.
A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having choice is an equalizer.
I think this is just like devolving into like an emotional thing, and I'm not dragging women here, but like women are more emotional, and some of these women are getting really emotional. Just oh my God.
It's gun right.
And in this country, the policies that are pushed to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you,
it's brainwash because you don't agree with me.
No, because I've been brainwashed. I have lived.
That is a very true statement about anything. They will say that about anything. If you like Trump and they like Biden, or you are anti-vaxxer and they're a vaccine person, or like this example, the abortion and whatever. Like any opposite sides, each side says about the other that they're brainwashed. So we're just all brainwashed, every single one of us.
Deeply institutionalized. I have lived under Islam. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like guilt for me. No, I'm not interested in like
living,
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed, because you know it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to do with like even religion. This is very conservative basic thinking. Scientific human rights. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah!
Yeah, instead of, you know, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to like do whatever they want.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You say this like it's a bad thing. I thought they were being sarcastic when they cheered about it. Oh my God. That right there is like one of the issues in our society that is not great, right? It's not a good thing. And it's just like people, I don't care. I just want to hoe around and do whatever. And then they get pregnant, and then they're like, I need to abort this child. And like, it's just like there's no consideration. I was going to say there's no consideration about the guy who got them pregnant, but I'm like, he should have been smarter too. So it's kind of his fault. So I'm not even going to say that. I don't think anybody should sleep around. Men or women. I don't think you should be like sleeping around. I don't think it's good for you just in general, for your psyche, for you as a person. I don't think it's good and healthy for your mental state. That's why I would say don't do it. Regardless of getting pregnant and whatever. Just mentally, it's not good for you. Sex is so much better when you're with someone you actually love and you're in a relationship with, and learns about you and learns what you like and does what you like, and you do for them what they like, and you play stuff out rather than just, you know, a different person every few days or whatever. I would take back all my sleeps around in my 20s if I could.
That almost sounds like you said.
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your like steez?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
why
what
is
I'm
it
saying
empowering?
is like, I feel like you do like take, like the way you speak on women is very sort of like, women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just want to this. And I wonder why you have so much like hatred towards women.
I don't hate women.
Where does that root in? It sounds
like
women.
You do. I am a woman. I
doesn't mean you don't have self-hate.
I could be black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly. I'm saying specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%. Good for them. So what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a form of birth control. And they don't track the 60%.
What kind of abortion?
Can you let me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's very binary version of sex.
Yes, because sex is binary, but please let me finish my point.
Oh, God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating pregnancy is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped or that, you know, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, you know, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
The idea, the sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like a fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure. And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like, you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Ideally, you should be able to get a procedure done. But if you're in there often, like if you're somebody who's having like 3-4 abortions or something, maybe somebody should be like, hey, can I talk to you about your life choices?
You shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl,
trans women are women.
Look at her eyes. She looks so she's looking around like, anybody clapping? Anybody? No one's clapping for me? Guys, they're women. Oh, this isn't Twitter. Damn.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay, so again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're going to take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is, like, we can't compete. We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's going to body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on, Mindy.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
confidence can't make me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her experience
can't make
in
me
a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing and I'd have to go.
No, she's not.
She's sharing trans misogyny. No, she's sharing her opinion, which disagrees with yours, and so you decided to name call her. That's what just happened. People are allowed to disagree and have different opinions. And she didn't sit there and call you something. I don't know what she would call you. Probably the B word, because that's how you're acting right now.
She's a woman who's had an experience.
Hold on, one at a time.
You guys are so obsessed with your own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
True.
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
People do have biological advantages. That's correct.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
bone
me.
density, wrist strength, muscle density. You can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused.
you're going to take Michael Phelps, who's literally an anomaly. You can't use Michael Phelps. Oh.
Him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, I mean, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
personal. A lot of us
personal.
live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's.
I like that girl. I don't know who she is. The one that's talking from Texas, who's clearly not from Texas because she has some kind of accent. I like her a lot. I like her, yeah. I like her more than Pearl, frankly, in how she talks.
Frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Yeah, just even how she like laughed when you were like talking about it. She's laughing like she's kind of just being like, just making fun of your point. I don't care for the fact that she's pointing it out, I would say, because it's kind of doing what other people do, like what they, if you're the other side, right, would do is be like, oh, you're doing this to me, and it's kind of this whole guilt kind of thing. And it's just, I would just rather let it happen and just get through it.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble, and you're
She's from Australia. I guess that. It's great.
Pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is kind of, that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places.
Spoken like a guy would, bringing it back to logical reality. And I know he's a trans woman. I'm just saying he clearly has that leftover stuff from his transition where he's got like the man brain stuff going on. It's just so obvious. Does anybody watch this and go like, no, he's fooling me. He literally was born a woman. Like, I mean, take how he looks out of it, because, I mean, he could look more feminine. Fine. Okay, I get it. But just on the personality that is being put forth, that is not how a woman would talk or speak or anything.
As an ally in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they started to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. It's Leah Thomas is the only one.
One too many.
If
One too many?
if women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when?
Well, maybe give it time, right? And maybe people are being extreme too when they say that. But just because they're not all taking the titles, they're still affecting it on some level. And I can understand women being upset about it because nobody likes to be knocked out of, their team because some person who has a certain advantage, like people are going to feel like it's unfair. And it's interesting because Eli was about fairness when they talked about equality versus equity. Eli was about fairness. And now when we're talking about fairness from the side of women in sports, it's like, hey, okay. I mean, we don't all have to be consistent, apparently.
The majority of states do allow trans women full participation. International titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about MeToo. Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is, it got a little heated at times, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That was, for the most part, like a big clusterfuck. They got stuck in so many areas that was like annoying to listen to. I was glad Sydney, the Australian girl there, like mentioned that at one point, because that's literally what was happening, and it was really frustrating. Like, there was some interesting things though, I think, with the trans stuff. Probably not. I likely I will have cut out a bunch of the Me Too stuff and some of the abortion stuff because it was just going nowhere. So if you want to watch the full thing, please go to the Vice's channel. You can check it out there. Hopefully, you enjoyed watching, and you'll like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on my channel next time.